This is the first episode. Welcome to the fifth pilot episode, but this time actually recording with audio and video.
Actually, yeah.
Of the of dialogue archives. I think that's what I'm gonna call the podcast. Just to archive dialogue archives.
Yeah, that's good, man. I like the sound of that.
There's no strict structure really, just conversations with peoples, with Homo sapiens and whatever other species I can interact with in a language that I'm able to speak. So
I love this song, man.
For those of you that can't see, we've got an extensive list of topics on the front screen of this computer that you can only just see the top of. What was that first topic say again?
It says, discover Guardians United.
So you've seen United Kingdom, you've seen Manchester United, but have you seen Gardens United? That's the question.
That's why a nation of gardens.
So wow, it actually shows you the map of the UK. Wow.
Actually,
that's quite cute.
That's a good point. You know the botanical gardens, right?
Yeah.
You've been there quite a lot.
Yeah. I basically live there.
Fair.
When I'm making music. It's a nice, inspiring spot.
It is quite nice. I walked around it once, but you know how there's like a little pond bit?
Yeah.
There. Have you been to other botanical gardens around the UK?
No.
Me and Chidi made a good point, right? It's like that pond bit especially, right? Alright, first I'll take a step back. It seems like the UK is like a copy and paste of like...
Yeah. What isn't it really?
It's like they make something and it's like, alright, let's just replicate this all around the place. Because we were walking around and that pond bit, I swear, it's a bit like that exactly in Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Like where I grew up in Huddersfield. There's literally one exactly like that there in Huddersfield. That's what I was going to ask.
What's it called? It's not called Garden Botanical, is it?
No, it's just Greenhead Park. That's what it's called.
Okay.
It's not very it's quite a boring name, but it's called Greenhead Park.
No, I think that's what you do with copy and pasting. Like for example, I only drink British tea. I only eat British pasta. I only eat British noodles. I only eat British Indian food.
Yeah, but that's the big part.
It's all cut and paste.
You know, like when especially, I don't know why Lidl does it the most. You always use big signs. It's like quality British beef, British potatoes. I'm like,
British beef.
Is there anything specific about it being British? Like,
I think you know what it is. I know people like whose parents, like I'm not gonna name names, right?
I guess it makes sense.
But like their parents literally say like they will only drink Yorkshire tea, but then they don't understand like where the tea leaves are sourced from. Or, like they don't like Italians, but they'll eat pizza and pasta and stuff. Like just like weird thing. I'll drink the wine that's from Italian vineyards. Oh, Sicilian.
So it's like once you put British in front of it, it's like.
I think it's a familiarity thing because like I've had this experience when I was in Russia.
Nationalism, right?
Yeah, I think nationalism exploits something even more humane than that, which is Western Park. Oh, Western Park. That's where we were before with Mina. Is that in Sheffield?
I don't think it's the same one.
Oh, a different one. I think they exploit.
Even the name is copy and paste.
I think
that looks 10 times better.
Oh no! Where is that?
I don't know.
Why are they shitting on our Western Park?
Like...
Sheffield's got best Western Park in Britain. Britain's best Western Park is Sheffield, obviously. God's own country. Don't really know what that expression means, but I've heard it a lot. I think they exploit something like that's close to the human nature, which is this desire for familiarity. Like for example, you know, if you see like, not even just British, if you see Sheffield, and then not just Sheffield, if you see like, what is this road called? Shoreham Road, Shoreham Street or whatever. So if you see someone on like Shoreham Street as like party, Shoreham Street, like, ooh, that's close. And then I think they're just exploiting that same principle. It's like, if they said European beef, best beef in Europe, it's one thing, best beef in like this continent, in this tectonic plate, that's one thing.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
I think narrow it down until it's like, oh, it's just you. It's like, this is personal to you.
Yeah, I think the marketing just doesn't work for me. But then, again, it does, you know, you find different forms of, you learn a lot from propaganda, right? Like when you go to any country, like if you really want to learn the culture of the masses, right? Just look out for propaganda, man. And you sort of get a general gist of how people think on a much more sort of generic level.
But that's kind of what I do in most countries that I go to. Like, I know it sounds weird, this, and the camera is not even the camera's about as straight as my sexuality right now. But the thing is,
It's like
the thing is, like, this is what I look for in the countries. Like, literally, it sounds stupid and superficial. Like, it probably is because I'm stupid and superficial. But this thing that I look at is like how the country responds to like things that are foreign to it. So like instead of it being like sexism, racism, whatever, it's like xenophobia in general. So like if a place is xenophobic, I don't know if it's going to really be like that good for me because they're probably quite indoctrinated. Whereas if the person is like, if I go to a country and in the first like place I see like a bunch of different like ethnicities, see some like, if I see like lesbian, gay people, whatever, like in the street, I'm like, okay, this place clearly has an acceptance for people bringing different values and different ways of being. And then I judge the countries sometimes by the willingness to, you know, to like, okay, they have this. I mean, in the UK, it's only really commercial because you see like takeaways from this country, from this restaurants from this country, but I don't see it as much in the actual integrity of the culture. Do you know what I mean? Like the culture in the UK is mixed if you consider all the commercial aspects, but when you consider people in the street, it's a bit more like. I think people are quite like closed circuit in the UK.
I was going to say something though, in regards to how open or how accepting the country is, right? All right, so there's two things. First of all, and this is something I've learned actually quite recently, that the West, or like most Western countries, especially say America and Britain, right? They are extremely diverse.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, they are the most diverse countries in the entire world.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one statement. I'll come back to that. And the second thing is, you're saying that you're judging a country from how accepting they are.
Yeah.
So where do you get the acceptance from? Is it from being there or from what you've heard of them? Because that's very tricky now. Because if it's from what you've heard of them, a lot of that is obviously tainted, right?
Yeah, I don't trust that, to be honest.
But then being there, by default, in any country you go to, the majority of people are gonna be the locals of that place.
Yeah, exactly. Getting inspired.
So again, how do you then, fully gauge in terms of doing the research bit? Of course, by time will always be the ultimate teller, right? Like if I spend a year in Serbia, then I can have a better judgment than doing research before going to just Serbia, right? But that being said, I've met Serbians who obviously super accepting, but I met them here in the UK. Which is
already outliers.
Which is a very diverse place by default. And I know I think it's the Argentinian one. I think it was what's her name? I can't remember.
Pilar or Juan in the party.
Yeah.
My friend, the short Latina lady, the Bolivianita.
The one you kept. Yes.
Sorry, Pilar, we love you really.
Yeah.
Boy,
she made a good point. She was like, when she came here.
Yeah.
She saw a woman in a burqa for the first time.
Oh really?
Ever.
That's interesting.
And it was like she would never have thought. Like she would obviously you associate that with like the Middle East, right? But she was like she never thought she would see someone in a full burqa walking down the street. But of course that's reflective of how diverse this place is. Of course that has its own problems too, in the sense that it's kind of a forced diversity. Like it's not diverse because the UK is the most diverse place, America is the most diverse place. I mean, a lot of people were either brought there forcefully,
or escaping some shit.
Exactly, or a lot of things were taken from other people that has forced them to come there to sort of have some sense of like living. Anyways, but that's what I was trying to say. Like, so how do you fully then gauge how inclusive a place is? Because one thing I've been noticing recently, so I've been like watching a lot of like African vloggers, right?
Yeah.
And there's this guy called Wode Maya. Shout out Wode, big ups. He basically travels to all these countries within Africa. And again, trust me, as an African, it's even worse somehow, because in the West, you watch all this like whatever the fuck her name is has to walk 10,000 miles to get a bottle of water, right? You watch that and you're like, oh, Africans are poor, right? That whole shit. But then Africa is worse because you're actually in Africa and you're seeing the same thing, right? And not just you're seeing the same thing, you're sort of living around people who are being programmed to see themselves on a personal level to be worth nothing, right? It's worse than living abroad and seeing it. Like, that's why, like I said, racism doesn't mean shit to me. You can call me whatever the fuck you call me, like, that doesn't. Those words are just words, right? Racism doesn't mean shit to me. You can call me whatever the fuck you call me, like, that doesn't. Those words are just words, right? But like living in the country and like feeling a sense of like worthlessness is much worse than someone calling you whatever the fuck they want to call you. So I really like what he's doing, because he's going back to those countries, specifically countries within Africa that even Africans are told that they're shit. Like Eritrea, you have like Sudan, for example. All these countries where people are like, oh yeah, these places are shit. Like either like war-stricken or like Somalia, for example. Everyone like thinks of, or people will think of Somalia as a place that's like, they've got famines, they've got war, that whole stuff. And he goes in and he's just, bro, it's completely different. Like, the women are super independent, like they're running their shit, you get what I mean? The society is like, it's thriving, like there's culture, you get what I mean? You walk around the streets are alive, you know, you're meeting people, and people are not like scared of you or something. I mean, I say scared because in the UK people tend to be very scared. Like, I don't know, walk down the street and try to like tap someone and ask for something.
It's very defensive, isn't it?
Bro, they're either gonna run or or slap you, exactly. But in Africa it's completely different. Like, you tap someone and they're expected to be a human being, right? Like, they're not walking in an empty street. Like,
I've got a question for you about that.
No. So I was like, it's quite interesting, like seeing that in a different light, because you don't see that. You don't tend to you don't tend to get that. Especially if you're doing research to go to that place, all you tend to see is just the stuff that's been, Sorry, you're gonna ask something.
No, I'm just curious because like many people have said this was a gay experience, and I dispute that, and that's not because I'm a homophilophobe, but actually it's because I think that what they're saying is bullshit. I think men can hold hands and you can fucking kiss each other like anywhere you want, on the nipples, whatever. It doesn't have to be sexual. It doesn't have to be sexual. So like when I was in Russia, right, in the hostel where I was, there was a couple of like Nigerian dudes. And this is what I was talking to Chili about, actually, because I was curious about like, their main different like regions. And this guy was from like Hausa region.
North, yeah.
And he like when we were showing me the supermarket he like grabbed my hand, and it wasn't like sensual. It was just literally like that, you know, walking with him. And I've asked people in the like all the guys that I talked to, like people from like different African countries too. In the UK, I've asked them like, what do you like? I told them that situation. I don't know how we got to that topic, but they said, oh, that dude was trying to make moves. And he was like, he was not, dude. He was just a human interaction. Like the guy was just showing me, like ushering me to the supermarket to get the stuff that I needed, and he's just been like I didn't feel anything from it. Yeah. Like, to me, it just seemed like, you know, like, oh, like, well, let's go to here. And so, like, what do you think of that? Like, is that normal, or like, was it like?
My response to that
is definitely gay.
It's one thing, right? Unpopular opinion, right? You can quote me on this. Homophobia was invented in the West.
Yeah.
That is my response to that. So, of course, if you're asking anyone that lives or that's been, you know, soaked in Western culture or media, or especially Western boyhood and infantile stupidity, right?
Yeah.
Of course, regardless of your race, they're gonna give you the same answer, right?
Yeah.
You've grown here. Like,
I noticed.
Like, if you go to high school here, the amount of times people say the word gay, like, you could literally like win a jackpot. Like, people shoot out that word just because. I mean, what was it like? You're taking a piss and someone looks at your dick and you're gay. You get what I mean? Like, it's just, bro, my eyes just. I mean, I'm just looking around like. So I don't know, man. I really don't. I when it comes to like such opinions, I know where to go for data, and I wouldn't go to certain places for data.
Yeah.
And like I said, coming back to my first statement, homophobia was invented in the West. So, of course, it's not surprising that they would see it that way. Personally, I don't see. I don't see being gay as something that is that is necessarily physically, that's something that you can identify from physical touch or from physical characteristics, if that makes sense.
Why do you think they're perceiving it as that? Because these dudes, like for example, a couple of the guys that I've asked, like they even have like parents from like places near like Nigeria, and they've been grown up in the UK. So my question is it then, like you said, like a Western thing? Like,
well, it's all around here, man. Like the comedians in the TV shows, like there's just something about a culture, man. Like there's something about a culture that goes beyond like the things you see. It's like in the play groups, right? Like in school, like I said, like, especially high school is a definitive part of people's lives, isn't it? Because that's where a lot of people that have had the worst bullying experiences is been in high school. You get me? All that stuff, like, because kids are just like, I don't know, kids are just savage, aren't they? And there isn't, the sense of community here is very like shit compared to like other parts. So, like for example, in Nigeria, I'll give an example. Me growing up, I don't need to be around my parents to be able to like know that I need to respect other people. Yeah. Like if I was out on the street and I was to disrespect someone, I'll probably just get a slap to the face from anyone. That's like, you don't do that. You get what I mean?
In what sense? Like if you like I don't know, like if you swear, for example, someone would just come out.
Yeah, okay, it depends on what it is. Swearing is not that much of a thing. I mean, swearing it's not that much of a thing. Like if I also cause harm or like I'm like physically bullying someone or something like that. There's something that breaks the human code of like conduct to things you want to do to other human beings, right? Like you'll be kept accountable, and that's what community is, right? Like you don't need like just your parents and your teacher or your friends to do it. Like the community is that your environment is keeping you accountable, right? So that's the thing. Like I think that's not here. Like you have in school where people get, and don't get me wrong, most of the people don't get bullied, of course, because again, that idea of the environment does change, innit? So if the environment is a bit more hostile or dangerous, whatever it is, or molded in a specific way, then of course that would reflect. But generally, and again, there's a sense of respect as well that we have, that we grew up with, that just isn't here. Would respect our elders, all that whole stuff. You know how it is. So if your elder was to say, because the idea is obviously your elder is someone that's more experienced than you and wishes you well. So if your elder was to say, look, this is not a good thing to do, then you're gonna be like, I mean, I'll acknowledge that and highly revere that. I'll take it and hold it to high esteem till disproven, right?
Oh, okay, till disproven. That's a good caveat, to be fair. So I was gonna say, like, in some cases, I feel like complying to the elders can sometimes be a problem, because if you comply to their doctrines, then it's like, I don't know. I've seen that in. I talk to my Italian friends about this because they're very like familial based. Like very like most. I mean, I don't want to talk about most Italian people, but most Italian people that I've met and talked to about this have kind of conquered that the culture a lot of the time is more familial oriented, more family oriented. As a result, I asked them like the advantages and disadvantages, and this girl told me that the advantage obviously is that you have a good support network. And you get knowledge from the older people too. But the disadvantage is that if a bunch of people disagree with you, you will sometimes end up just following anyway. So you know, like democracy, like where it's like the hypocrisy of democracy is like if 99% of the people say it's right to kill someone who's innocent, then the 1% that's innocent is going to die, essentially, which is fucked up, really. Like literally on the logical level, it's fucked up. And according to like the Socrates history of how he was killed and all that jazz, is meant to be because of, you know, that conception that enough people say it's right, it is right, or the authority says it's right. I
think it comes from like those more primitive times. It's like more like herd mentality. That's the reason why cancel culture is a thing, because innately, when we're living like in smaller groups, it's just important that you all sort of stick together, right? There was actually, you know, it's rather ironic, but there was no such thing as privacy. Like privacy is actually quite a modern
it's interesting you say that.
Privilege, right? So we're like, I want to be private, but like, how could you be private if there was only like 100 people in a tribe, and you don't have like houses, like you don't have doors, you just have huts, like you know, people would be doing whatever. Like you'd be taking a shit and everyone would see you, and that wouldn't be like an embarrassing thing. Like it's like I just want to take a shit. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
People would like, you know, be mating, and that would just be the thing. Like you don't need to run away to go do it. It's like a normal thing that happened, right? Or whatever it is. So it was important that we stuck together as a group, and it was actually important that there was no privacy in that sense. Because you wanna know what's going on to stay alive, right? If someone's ill or someone's being threatened or someone's going somewhere, you want visibility on everything. Everyone needs to know everything because it's useful. So what happens in that situation is that's why exiling was such a big thing. Right now you read the audios, exiled. Oh no, it sounds like quite futile, but exiling you is basically killing you. It's the same as like putting you like life imprisonment or sending you to the death row or something.
You don't know the other tribes. You can't just go into
bro, first of all, the other tribe will likely kill you.
Yeah.
But before you even get to the other tribe, you're probably gonna die from starvation or from just not. Actually, you mostly die initially from the first shock, which is more mental.
Yeah.
That you do not have your tribe anymore, right? So that alienation is actually what ends up killing you. Let's say 80% of the time. And if that doesn't kill you, then obviously the physical element will kill you. If that doesn't kill you, then the next tribe is probably going to kill you.
Do you reckon there's some absolute done that like got exiled? Because I would love to hear the stories. Like if there's a story, like in history, I guess it would have been so hard to be documented somewhere. But there must be some absolute OG that like got exiled from their tribe, went away, somehow did an Adam and Eve jobby, sacrificed the rib, started an entire new tribe somewhere else. Like,
there are many people that have done that, man.
That would be impressive.
There are many.
I went to another tribe, joined the other tribe, got accepted.
Then probably waged war on that tribe. There's many people that.
But like if they're scared of me like farting on them in the supermarket, because I might give them AIDS or something. Like, fuck it is what it is. But at the end of the day,
there are many.
I went to another tribe, joined the other tribe, got accepted.
Then probably waged war on that tribe. There's many people that have done that.
Whoever did that, their obstacle is the way. That the master of the obstacle.
Therefore, there's many people that have done that. But that's the thing. Like, you know, coming back, you know, the reason I said that is because you spoke about the Italian friend, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, that's why stuff like that happens. Is that it's not necessarily because, you know, democracy as such. It's more like, well, they do the mental maths in their head and they realize, man, I don't want to be exiled in that sense. Man. And then they conform. And that's literally what society is right now. And that's the reason why society is the way it is right now. And because, think of it like the masking thing, for example, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that. Like, a lot more people would comply to it more because of just that whole herd mentality thing.
That's like me.
And I was reading this research paper recently that was sort of published on ways to reduce anti-vaccine sentiments and anti-masking sentiments, ways to reduce it in the public. And basically the research was all very you know, in regards to a lot of anthropology, it was in regards to just like human behavior and just saying it all comes down to human social behavior. That is the one thing that you need to exploit. And that's why when you go on social media, you see stuff like on Facebook, put a badge that I'm vaccinated. Something as little as that is able to trigger someone else, because then they then feel, because by the time you see 7, 10, 30, 100 people with a badge saying I'm vaccinated, that same effect is what happens to you. You now start feeling like that dude who's just been sent out on the exile. Like,
that's why we're so scared of humiliation. That's what people don't understand. It's like when you say like, oh, if I go ask this person out or I go ask for this thing, it's like, why would that suck so much? And it's because like your brain, as much as we believe we politically evolved as a species, like the physiology is still the same. And so like if like you said in this like ancient era, you would get exiled, that means you die. Like you could say a bad joke and get exiled, and then that means you die. Like now you might lose your job, whatever. You can still go like do a shit job, like you know the shitty jobs that I do, for example. So like, but it's hard for your brain to see the other way out because it literally sees rejection as like potential ostracism, and I think that is why we get this adrenaline rush that is literally. I have climbed stuff that like you would die if you fell without ropes. And I've literally felt that same adrenaline response. Asking a girl if she will hold my hand. Do you know what I mean?
I get you.
But I think people are the law, and people are the law. and
that's
economics.
That's not gay though. To ask a girl to hold your hand. Why isn't it gay to ask a girl to hold?
I'm a lesbian though. Like,
I mean, why are you doing gay shit, man? Why are you asking someone to? You know what I'm talking? It's like,
but I do genuinely believe that people are the law and people are economics, because without people there is no value. Without people there's no enforcement. So like what you're saying about the herd mentality is exactly me. Like, I was that simp, because all this time, I don't know if I can say this on camera because I might get taken down probably, but like, I've been skeptical of COVID since day uno, and I still respected most of the rules, like within reason. I tried to apply some like judgment call to it, some Occam's razor or whatever the fuck it's called. Like I said, like, okay, I'll follow it insofar that me sacrificing some liberties enables other people to feel safer, and I respect the other people. I can entertain their arguments without agreeing with it. That's fine, because I'm actually a person that's fair and not just like saying my way is right, your way is wrong, or your way is right, my way is wrong. But the compromise for me was like, okay, I wear the mask in the supermarkets and all these places. I'm obviously not going to wear it in the street because it's just dumb.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally like, I know some countries are still enforcing that rule.
I mean, it's bad enough that we're mouth breathers. We need to fucking learn to breathe with our nose first, and now you've got a mask over your nose.
I've been a mouth breather
which you can't even breathe from.
But the retardation in this, right? No offense to people with autism or on the spectrum or whatever. I'm probably with you, like right there, but in the distance. But at the end of the day, like this idea that most of the people that have died from this, I'm not saying everyone, there's some innocent people that have no comorbidities, and like I knew a 19-year-old that died in his sleep from a brain aneurysm. That's an anomaly, like it's a rare situation. It's really unfortunate, and rest in peace. I wish there was a heaven for him to be in. But in terms of like this COVID situation, right, we have never worn face masks for the carcinogenic emissions from the cars, from the shampoo that we buy that has carcinogens in it, from the smoking of cigarettes that we release publicly and liberally everywhere, and all these different carcinogens that we expose ourselves to. Never worn a face mask. What is the thing that is killing people? Is it the fact that their comorbidities with cancer and heart disease, which are lifestyle diseases impacted by our behaviours in our society? Or is it the fact that there's a virus that has an above 90% recovery rate, is apparently contagious, which I had and apparently lasted for like 30 hours, and I've still got uncle and antibodies too. So like, which one is it? Which one is it? Okay, you say it pushed them over the edge. They would have survived another like day, another month, another year, whatever. But like, that could have been anything. Like the health that my grandma is in right now, God bless her, like I hope that she lives forever, but if she died tomorrow, they would put it down as COVID.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. It's another thing is the shock factor in it. It's like, humans are sort of we're wired to either fight or flight, and especially when it comes to do with health, where we have been stripped of our responsibility, our knowledge, and basically humans are more likely to run away, right, than fight when it comes to health.
That's like me. I'm a little I'm a beta male bitch. I don't give a shit. I'm a beta male man. You can suck my dick.
You heard what you said, right? We've overcomplicated health, right? We've taken away the things that were simple that worked, and we've turned it into a product, right? We've turned the human health into a product where people are actually genuinely benefiting from the health and death of people.
Yeah.
So we're in a position where many people are not actually taking active control of their health. I mean, I'll give you a simple example of it. And you don't even need to go start reading research papers or, change your diet or anything wild like that. Something simple as, for example, overeating, for example, like overeating, right? Like, just something as simple as that, like, or eating lots of junk food, for example. I don't know. It's either you've got a problem that you're trying to escape and you're using that as a form of escapism, just like drugs or whatever it is, or you genuinely don't understand what you're doing to yourself by overeating or eating lots of shit, right? Like eating lots of McDonald's and you're getting super fat, or you have headaches, or you feel something, I don't know, your knees are hurting because you're malnourished or something, I don't know, whatever it is. Like, I think it's either you have a problem and you're escaping it, which needs to be fixed, or you don't understand what you're doing to yourself. Like, you don't really truly understand what you're doing to yourself. Because if you had, you know, if you really did understand what you're doing to yourself, if you're able to see like a third person perspective of what you're doing to yourself, I think most people would be healthier. Yeah. Right? But that's the thing, and that's what I said. I think it's been commoditized. Health has been made super complicated for absolutely no reason. And also a lot of people just don't take active steps for their health. So when stuff like this happens, when there's a massive shock to the system, everyone's gonna go for flight, right? Yeah. And then when everyone goes for flight, you relinquish your responsibility to look after your own health. Yeah. Which I think is, you know, I think that in itself is even worse than the whole consent issue, because it's almost like you like saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna just kill myself now." Yeah. That's what I was killing everyone else. Like, I'm just gonna kill myself because I'm gonna give away my awareness of my own health, right? Yeah. I'm not really gonna care about it, and then that's just really, really awful. That's really, really horrible. And I think many people don't even see it like that. Like, they don't even understand what they're really doing to themselves. Yeah. It's really, really deep in that sense. Like, they don't actually understand. So, of course, like you mentioned the whole like smoke. There is smoke everywhere. There's like, you know, you're walking down the street. There's like there's cars going around, pollution everywhere. Well, you haven't been told that that's bad, right? Yeah. So you don't really deep it. When I was working in London, I'll take the Bakerloo line from Paddington to Oxford Circus, and then change and then get the Central line to Liverpool Street. I'll come out of Liverpool Street and I'll blow my nose. It's just black tar in it.
Really?
Yeah. It was awful.
How is that not contagious though? Like how when there's like how many new people get in a car a day? Like, how is that not contagious?
But people do that like all their lives, right? Yeah. Taking the tube constantly. Bro, like I said, man, I think most people just need to start seeing for their own selves and understanding for their own selves the importance of taking their own health into their own hands. Literally, I think it just comes down to that, because then we'll be in a situation like this where everyone just starts mass panicking. Yeah. Because they haven't been, you know, everyone just starts mass panicking, because then it's like, oh, this whole thing is killing people. Straight away, everyone's like, fuck it, I don't want to die. Bro, you're not acting like you don't want to die. Like, prior to this, you were on the road to dying anyways. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I don't want to like bounce across different, because obviously it spans through so many different topics. There's social engineering. There is, you know, there's really toxic capitalism as well that plays a part. Yeah. There is like poor governance and bureaucracy that plays a part. So there's so many different things that play a part. I understand that, but generally, like, when people start panicking over like the smallest health thing, it just shows how little they know and take care and take charge over their own health.
But you know what they do? You know what they do, right? They know that the people are the power, and that's why, like, you see all these companies, whenever there's commercial viability behind activism, they always jump on it. Oh yeah. So like this past year, it's mostly been like the LGBT stuff and the BLM stuff. All the companies have jumped on it, and they do not give a shit about the cause. Yeah, like, they give 0% fucks about any of the causes, and they're just jumping behind it because of commercial viability behind it. And it's weird because people don't see the reverse double blind at play. Like, for example, if I went to a person's window and I knew, like, let's say, imagine me as a cute little white boy, right? If I took a brick to a window of like a proper like British, like patriotic, like nationalistic household, and I put a label on that brick that says #BLM or something, throw it through their window, like I've literally created an enemy for some like for I'm like a pseudo enemy. Like I'm not even the real. Do you know what I mean? Like you could actually create opposition. And in that book that I was reading about economics, apparently that was a large like warfare strategy for a long time, was getting two groups of people or multiple groups of people to dislike each other based on arbitrary characteristics.
Yeah, it happened in Iraq,
and then fight each other.
Iraq war thing was basically that. Like.
But people are power, and they are aware of that. People are power, so they utilize that against people because like the media thing, man. I respect people, and I respect that they suffer, and I respect that if they're scared of me, I will try and do what I can to assuage their fears. But like if they're scared of me like farting on them in the supermarket, because I might give them AIDS or something, like, fuck it is what it is. But at the end of the day, like I can only go so far before I'm like, bro, like I haven't. If you're not a scientist, then you're a fucking hippie, and if you're not a hippie, you're a scientist. And it's like, no, I'm both with a capital F, because like if they're scared of me like farting on them in the supermarket, because I might give them AIDS or something, like, fuck it is what it is. But at the end of the day, like I can only go so far before I'm like, bro, like I haven't been to any of these countries. I'm only seeing things on news. And like literally, if you want to learn about software engineering, you would go to a software engineer or read a book on software engineering. You don't turn on like BBC or ITV News and expect software engineers to hit you in the face. So if you want to know stuff about politics, if you want to know stuff about like ethnography, or if you want to know stuff about like history or anthropology or any of these concepts, why the fuck are people taking pharmaceutical knowledge and medical knowledge from BBC and ITV? Like these are literally periodists or journalists who are interviewing someone who has had 10 years of like researching stored clinical information, which has gone through the clinic, which has been stored and retrieved from the clinic, and then being analysed and assessed by some like researcher, and then being passed to the person who's interviewing them, and then in their own words then being passed into this paper. And it's like, bro, at what point do you believe that there is no translational error in any of that text? And not only just that, but the way they're laying out the statistics. And it's like, literally, you need degrees in statistics and like probabilistics, linear algebra to be able to break down all these models that are at play. So for me to have a judgment on it, it's almost like me commenting on the existence of God. Like I might as well be. It's the axiom thing that Naval guy is talking about, because the axiom here is science says it. Science isn't a person. Science is an action. You know what I mean? Like science is the act of answering questions and seeking answers to questions until they're able to be disproven and replaced by further acquisition of information. And people see that, they go, oh yeah, but science says. And then you have people that actually hate on science because they think that science is these people with overbearing opinions based on like superficial analysis. Where some of my friends, they're like homosexuals. You know, like they only do homeopathic stuff. Like, you know, like fucking like bathing in the urine and shit. like drinking the urine because it's got like unresolved minerals.
Unresolved, yeah.
And then they go like, so you have these people.
Did they also like trap the gas that comes out of the end of their car because it's got unresolved fuel in it, petrol?
But they say
condense it, then pour it back into the car.
But it's wild, man. I reckon there's someone out there that believes in the health benefits of swallowing their own semen, probably. But at the end of the day, it pushes people out, because you see, if you're not a scientist, then you're a fucking hippie, and if you're not a hippie, you're a scientist. And it's like, no, I'm both with a capital F, because it's like, look at the science, man. I don't understand enough about statistics to be able to interpret all the data on this pandemic, for example. I don't know enough about epidemiology, but I do know a lot more than a lot of people that I know who have heavier formed opinions than me, and the way that they react to it is very violent. Like it's not like they're like I'm on the altruistic spectrum, or the what is the other one? The like gender fluid spectrum, or whatever. And I'm like here, like meta male, beta male. But then it seems like if you don't know shit about shit, you shouldn't be on one side. Like you should definitely be more like in the middle with it, until you can. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know enough to say that it's certainly wrong, but I also know enough to say that it's not certainly right.
But this is the thing we said before the conversation we had downstairs. It's the idiots are the loudest in the room, and while that saying is all well and true, or whatever it makes researchers or scientists feel intelligent or clever, the truth is, because the idiots are the loudest in the room, stupid ideas spread quicker.
Yeah.
And people who don't have a process of identifying, I guess, truthful information, or at least have a process of vetting information that is inclusive of facts, research, and putting in the work, right, to try and judge a concept or idea. Those people are more likely to just treat it like a tick box practice. It's like, all right, for me right now, the most basic thing for me is my entertainment, right?
Yeah.
Or my pleasure. So I need to make sure that I put myself in a process or in a system or an environment that enables me to have maximum pleasure. So it means that when something comes that questions that understanding of, I guess, what allows me to do what I want to do, I'm a lot more dismissive to it, right? Because my focus is purely just on, how do I entertain myself?
Yeah.
How can I keep myself entertained?
Yeah.
So now it's like, all right, you do this. It's the simplest thing to do. Put a mask on, or you do this.
Yeah.
It's the simplest thing to do. All right, that's simple. That's fine. I can do that.
Yeah,
I can crack on doing this. You know what I mean? So like, and I think again because stupid ideas spread quick, and it's harder to take a research-based approach to find information. More people are just like, nah, allow that, man.
Yeah. Just,
nah, I'm good.
Until it's proper affecting you. Like, that was my situation with COVID, right? I said, okay, some of my friends said, oh, the mask is only temporary. I said, okay, fair enough. Like, if you want me to do this temporarily, I'll do it temporarily. But if come 2 years down the line, you're still telling me now I've stopped wearing it in all places except the hospital and the dentist, for example, because they're medical settings. And to be honest, that's fine if you want to keep it sterile in that place. I understand that because it is a hospital and the dentistry, anyways. But the hand sanitizing in the hospital realistically has always been a thing. It's never not been a thing because this, for sterility. But in terms of in the streets and stuff and going into the supermarkets and all that stuff, it's now I'm just I'm done with it. It's been 2 years. I've played the game for 2 years. Literally watching as a homo skeptical and I'd be okay, I've respected everyone's opinions but my own for 2 years, and now I'm just fucking man. I'm sorry guys. At the end of the day, this world is a fucking dangerous place, and it always has been. And the fumes that are invisible, that are emanating in the air, the fucking shampoo that I'm putting on my balls, it's
the food you're eating,
the phone that I have in my pocket,
the
water that the soya milk that gives me a size B cup, all these different things, man. All these different things are there. And this demagogy that people get got by, because you said the loudest person in the room. Unfortunately, in our generation, the loudest person isn't a person; it's a machine learning algorithms on social media. And the thing that's driving the social media isn't the loudest person; it's the P. So people are able to monetize this content to an extent. They're not able to monetize directly this content because they can't monetize the pandemic stuff. This video might even get taken down, but they can monetize the platform through which the information is attracting people. And once they have that base, all they have to do is, in between each COVID article, publish a Kardashian article or some dumb shit that really doesn't matter at all. And then there you go, I'll publish something about something that's happening in another country that none of us will ever go to see. For example, you can tell me that my phone has metals in it which are unrighteously sourced, let's be honest, and you can tell me that there's a kid at gunpoint in the Republic of Congo. How am I going to go there and actually verify that information? I can't. So you can tell me that and you can plant the seed in my head and it literally could be true or not true. I have no way to verify that knowledge unless I go there. And so you can say to me, oh, you're an evil person if you don't act upon that. If I don't act upon that to generate a more ethical source of this metal that's in my phone, what is it, cobalt? You say, oh, you're a horrible person. But I don't know. I need to go there to actually see. So you can create this, you can vilify people on the premise that they can't disprove the existence of what they're doing is wrong. You know what I mean? I can't prove to you every single person that I go to speak to. I can't show them all a negative COVID test. Every time I go into this room, into this supermarket, in order to do that, it would be unsustainable and stupid. So it's the same kind of argument as pitting people against each other. I don't think that they are behind it, but I do think that there has been
I think it's a good point you made,
exploitations on levels.
I think Naval actually said this. He was the thing with the media is that, especially right now, is the media is trying to make everybody's problem your problem.
Yeah.
And it's actually a form of like information overload. And the whole point is like to stress your brain into then defaulting, right?
Yeah.
Usually when you default, you're gonna go towards solid foundation. And what solid foundation? Solid foundation is always gonna be the stuff that has stood the test of time. Be it the government, for example, or be it those ideas that were embedded in you from a young age, right? Or behaviors. Yeah, and those behaviors are, again, most likely from the government too, because or from the, like, again, I just call it more the government, because even the media, that whole stuff, it's like all the films you watch, that whole stuff, like just the whole conditioning that you've been given from a young age. That conditioning, yes, is what you default to. And when you default to that, it's like solid structure. So you're like, all right, what is safe right now? And what is safe is that thing that is solid. And what that thing is solid is that thing that, has stood the test of time. So you're more likely just going to default to that. That's why a lot of people, I think, especially during the pandemic, which was quite interesting at the start of it, a lot of people, honestly, I feel like we're just escaping it. Just genuinely escaping themselves.
Yeah.
Deliveroo fucking made a killing. Just Eat made a killing. Netflix made a killing. Like, all these things are all pleasures, right? And it's just like So it's like I said to you, it's like, is either you're addicted to something, which usually is caused by escapism, or you just don't know what you're doing to yourself. And in most cases, I think it was escapism.
Yeah, you know the pain, but you want to get away from it, hide it,
and rather than deal with it. And of course, I don't blame them, because not many people even know how to deal with it.